So now that we know what a critical incident is and some of the consequences of critical incidents for our nurses and healthcare workers, we're going to talk about an intervention that I found in research that can help, which is debriefing. So debriefing, typically it's used to talk about soldiers or spies who have completed a mission and then they have to go in and debrief. So it's a serious term and it's a serious tool that we can use to address a serious problem. So in debriefing, there's several phases. There's lots of different debriefing formats, but basically they all kind of follow a similar flow. So you're in a small group, and to debrief, you always have a trained facilitator, and they'll kind of lead you through the steps or the phases of debriefing. And the first one is to acknowledge just factually what the event was. So everyone has the opportunity to chime in and say, this is what happened. And then the next step would be acknowledging kind of what were your first thoughts to this critical incident, your cognitive reaction to it. And then you get a little bit deeper and you talk about what were some of the emotions that you were experiencing as a reaction of this incident. And then even deeper, you talk about how those emotions are manifesting. So what are your symptoms after this incident? Are you angry? Is your heart pounding out of your chest? What are your symptoms? And then you move into a teaching phase. So that's where this trained facilitator is really important to teach everyone in the group what kind of coping techniques, whether they're cognitive or what have you, to kind of deal with the emotional and physical impact of the incident. And then at the end, there's always a wrap up and a check-in with everyone to see if there might be someone who's maybe at a higher risk for experiencing moral distress or burnout. Maybe that person needs a little bit of a one-on-one extra debriefing time. So that's kind of an overview of what debriefing is. It's just a tool to help nurses or healthcare workers kind of assign meaning, acknowledge emotions, and gain some tools to deal with the critical incidents. And most hospitals don't have a formal debriefing policy. If they do, it's only related to Code Blue events where you debrief because they want you to do better, which is great. But in the research, I found that nurses are really strongly desiring a debriefing policy and tool and support and format for all kinds of critical incidents, especially the ones that are likely to lead to moral distress or moral injury or burnout or stress, even if it's not necessarily that a patient coded. And research has shown that debriefing can cause increased teamwork, feelings of not being alone. It can facilitate better patient outcomes. Even if the debriefing isn't about a Code Blue, if you have better teamwork, you're going to have more positive patient outcomes. It provides emotional support. It acknowledges and recognizes the grieving process for nurses and healthcare workers. So it's been proven to be a really effective tool. It's used a lot in police work, in soldiers, in really high stress work environments, just like the healthcare field.